check the numbers, Reds, against the Braves. They have beaten them 7 out of 8 times, have out-hit them by 100 points, more than twice outscored them, 4-1 on home runs, the earned run average 1/3. A lot of good things to look forward to when you're looking to get out of slump with the Reds. Downside of that, though, Pete, is they're doing this now against a revised starting rotation. Remlinger scares me a little bit. Remember, they did all that beating up on them earlier against Smiley, Shurik, and Burba. And if you're looking for another, maybe a little downside tonight, bad news about Mark Lemke.
Yes, Mark was injured in the final game of the Houston series. Jeff Bagwell at the plate. Derek Bell, the runner at first. Double play ground ball hit the Chipper Jones. A rolling block by Bell to take Lemke out of the play. Well, he's going to be out a little bit longer than thought. He's got a severely sprained right ankle. He has just been placed on the 2-week disabled list. Keith Lockhart has been activated. We'll be back with the starting lineups and all the action from Atlanta right after this.
Braves baseball on the Superstation is brought to you by Aflac, helping to fill the gaps left by your regular insurance. Aflac, insuring over 40 million people worldwide. By the 62,000 professionals at Delta Airlines, who proudly put you on top of the world. And by AutoZone, the best parts in auto parts.
For Boone and Remlinger complete the Reds' batting order. The outfield, Batista, Lofton, and Jones. The infield, Chipper Jones, Blauser, Graffinino, and McGriff. Eddie Perez behind the plate. And on the mound, making his 26th start of the year, Greg Maddux. Maddux is 16-3 at .238 earned run average. He has done just about everything you could ever want out of a starting pitcher, Pete.
And we're underway. Pokey Reese leads it off and takes a strike. The numbers on Maddux for the year, as Don told you, 16-3, .238 earned run average, lifetime 11-11 against Cincinnati. And the 0-1 pitch now to Pokey Reese up high. 1 ball, 1 strike. Reese comes into the game 227, couple of home runs, 19 RBIs. Now the 1-1 on the way, and it's low and away. 2-1 the count on Pokey Reese. The Cincinnati ball club hasn't been hitting all year. Their .250 batting average as a team ranks dead last in the National League. And you look at some of the names on this ball club going into the season, you would never have guessed that offense would be a problem for Cincinnati. They've had a lot of injuries. Barry Larkin out most of the year. Al Morris is out now.
And one of the things Jack McKeon is spending the rest of this year doing is evaluating the guys that he does have there. Who do they want to start with next year?
Full count, 3-2. Look at that. On base percentage, runs scored, hits, and extra base hits. All of those categories. The Reds are dead last. Here's the 3-2 on the way to Pokey Reese, and there's a leadoff base hit. They get the Reds going here in the top half of the first inning. And now one of the many new faces on the Cincinnati ball club these final weeks of the season. Center fielder John Nunnally, one of a couple of players, came over from Kansas City. And he comes into the game with a 6-game hitting streak, .243 for the year with 5 homers. Pokey Reese back to first.
Good speed and is learning to become a good base runner. Already has 23 steals. Hasn't played all the time this year, but they say he is really starting to pick up on the little idiosyncrasies of pitchers.
And you can see the Reds' philosophy against Greg Maddux. You get up against a pitcher who doesn't give up any runs. Try to get one as quickly as you can. But Nunnally fouled back the bunt. Seems a little strange to see players in long sleeves in August in Atlanta. But it's going out into the low to mid 50s tonight here. Just off the corner, 1 ball, 1 strike. Nobody out. Reese, the runner at first. And again, chased back. You'll see Maddux pay more attention to runners early in a game like this than he will later in a game if he's got a 3 or a 4-run lead.
Yeah, he's a guy who realizes that that first run could be a big one in a game like this.
There goes Reese. 1-1 pitch. Swung on, miss. Throw down by Perez. Not in time. Ball trickles away from Jeff Blauser. And Pokey Reese has stolen his 24th base of the year.
Got a chance to look at his speed there, because if you were watching, he didn't really get a good jump. Kind of spun his wheels over at first when he took off. See? Didn't get that good traction right away, but he accelerates in a hurry. The throw is close. It's going to be bang, bang, but when it's skipped, Blauser got the tag on him. Although he lost it, he got the tag on his thigh after the hand had already hit the bag.
Reese now at second, nobody out. A count of 1 ball, 2 strikes on Nunnally. Just off the inside corner, 2-2. Jerry Crawford calling the balls and strikes tonight.
And he is normally an umpire that favors hitters a little bit more than pitchers. So going to probably have to see more on the corner than near the corner.
Now a pickoff play out at second base, and a good save by Jeff Blauser. He almost got the out besides. But that ball almost skipped past him into center field. Watch this.
Call a daylight play, and what that means is if Blauser can get daylight between him, and you can see it there, space between him and the runner, pitcher turns and throws.
Count 2-2 on Nunnally. Down the right field line, but foul. In Greg Maddux's last start, which came against the Cardinals, he had first inning problems, then settled down. Gave up 3 runs in the first inning to the Cardinals, but that was it.
Well, the base hit to Reese. Very seldom do we see Maddux get hurt by movement, but it was a pitch that moved more than he was expecting. He was shooting for the outside corner, and it moved all the way back over the plate.
And time was called just before the pitch was released by Maddux, just before he came out of the stretch. So it's still 2-2 on Nunnally. Chris Stein's on deck. Inside corner, got him looking. Maddux records the first strikeout of the night. 1 gone here in the top of the first, and that'll bring up the left fielder, Chris Steins.
Shooting for that inside corner, moving it back over. Got it right there. As close as Nunnally stands to the plate, there's no way he can take anything that close. I mean, anything inside of him, unless it hits him, is going to be a strike.
Now, pretty good story here late in the season for the Reds. Left fielder Chris Steins also came over from the Royals as a minor league player. Started out the year at Omaha, moved over to Indianapolis, hitting .285 at AAA. Look what he's done since they've called him up in 11 games. Again, a pickoff play on its second. Again, Pokey Reese gets back. Stein's one of those players, Don, that throughout his career doesn't really have a position. He can play the outfield. He can play the infield. He is never really locked in on one spot.
I think Kansas City was committed to trying to make him an infielder. With some of the injuries that the Reds have had, it may be a break for him. He may be finding out outfield is his position.
5-1. Jack McKeon envisions Steins as a Tony Phillips kind of player who can play a different position every night if he has to.
Sometimes that's good news for a ball club, but bad news for a player, because once you get labeled as a guy who can play a lot of positions, not very often are you going to get a chance to spend a year at one and be a regular. See, that's what happened to Dave Hansen. You know, Dave Hansen always plays so well against the Braves, but they say, well, he can come off the bench and hit. He can play some late inning defense. So they were reluctant to give him a starting job because he could do a number of things to help him late in a ball game.
And again, the cat and mouse game going on between Greg Maddux and Pokey Reese. Maddux won't take his eye off him. And Reese almost daring him back there to try to get him again at second base.
Pick him off would be a bonus. Shortening that lead by 1 step is probably what they're looking for.
Now the 1-0. And that caught the corner. 1 ball, 1 strike at Chris Steins. Eduardo Perez on deck. One man out here on the top of the first.
This is more attention than I could ever remember Greg Maddux showing to a runner at second.
Well, there's nothing Greg Maddux is ever unaware of, and he's aware right now the Braves are struggling offensively, and one run could be a big one. Bigger maybe than normal. Out of play, 1-2. So he appears determined not to let Pokey Reese advance any further than he already has. (12-13) is the Reds' record since Jack McKeon has taken over as manager, and the atmosphere decidedly looser around the ball club. Here's the 1-2. Out of play, right side, still 1-2.
Sometimes high intensity players, and that's what Ray Knight was, kind of like a Rex Hudler. And remember, Pete Rose was a high intensity player, and for a while he was tough to play for because he expected everybody else to be cut out of the same cloth that he was. Sometimes that can be hard to key down when you're managing.
2-2 the count now on Chris Steins. Cincinnati overall for the year 14 games under 500. They're in 4th place in the Central Division, 10.5 behind Houston. Here's the 2-2, and it's low and away. 3-2 the count now on Steins. Tough stretch of schedule for the Cincinnati Reds. They're right in the middle of it. They had a 9-game road trip. Then they came home and played 2. And now they're off on a 10-game road trip. Now it's full 3-2. Jerry Crawford indicating that time had been called before that last pitch. So he changed the count to 2-2, and now it's 3-2 on Steins. In the air, shallow right center field. Long run for Lofton. Can't get to it. Base hit. Pokey Reese will trot home, and the Reds take a 1-0 lead. Chris Steins continuing his good work with the bat. That's his 21st hit in 46 at-bats and his 7th RBI for the Reds, who lead it now 1-0.
You see a lot of outs made by hitters off Maddux like that. You also see him give up a lot of hits right off the end of the bat, bloopers, and really some pretty risky base running for Pokey Reese, because with Lofton's speed, I don't think anybody here was ever completely sure he wasn't going to catch up to that. So they gambled, and the Reds got a run because of it.
That'll bring up Eduardo Perez, the first baseman. He has a 6-game hitting streak, hitting .273, 13 homers, 40 RBIs, and looks like he's going to be the first baseman the rest of the way for the Reds. Al Morris on the disabled list with a right shoulder ailment. And Perez going to get a chance to play every day. Runner going again. Another stolen base for Chris Steins. So you can see what the Reds are up to here in the first inning. Very aggressive offensively. That's 5 for 5 in the stolen base department for Steins.
Good jump, and took a peek. He had that good of a jump. There wasn't going to be a throw, but the things that have been impressive about Reese and Steins, second or third step, they're going full speed. Quick acceleration for both of them.
There's a strike, 1-1 now on Perez. One run in, a runner at second. And the 1-1 offering. Got the fastball by him. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 3 games with the Reds this weekend. Day games tomorrow and Sunday. Then Houston will come in for a series before the Braves head up to Fenway Park next weekend. Here's the 1-2. Got him outside corner. Caught Perez looking. Second strikeout of the inning for Maddux. 2 men gone. And the batter will be Reggie Sanders.
Same pitch that Steins got a hit on. You can't give up on the fastball if you're a hitter. Steins just took a little poke at it. But Perez, that's a great shot there. The movement, the late movement. Perez framing it perfectly.
Reggie Sanders had a disappointing year. He's been plagued by injuries on and off. 239, 15 homers, 38 RBIs. They've had a lot of injuries. This is only the 56th game that Reggie Sanders has been able to play in. Barry Larkin's only played in 66 games. He's going to have surgery right after the 1st of September. He'll be out for the rest of the year.
You mentioned Morris.
Deion Sanders not in the lineup tonight with back problems that are still plaguing him. He just got back from a check by the Dallas Cowboys. Looks like he'll be able to be a part-time player for them, but only available to come off the bench for the Reds tonight. Outside corner, 2-1. And don't forget the injuries to the pitching staff. They've been without Jeff Brantley for much of the year. Dave Burba currently down with a back problem, although he did pitch a simulated game earlier today. Pete Shurek has been in and out of action. Jose Rijo has been gone all year. It's a lot of people to lose.
Kent Merker.
Merker will miss the start this weekend because of a back problem. So the doctors have been kept busy in the Reds clubhouse. 2-2 on Reggie Sanders.
Kent Merker was giving Barry Larkin a little scouting report on what he should look for, what he would do to you. First, he's going to throw it on the inside corner. Then, next, he's going to throw it on the outside corner.
Outside corner. So Maddux strikes out the side, but in between the strikeouts, the Reds scrap and pick up a run. We go to the bottom half of the first, 1-0 Cincinnati.
He'll be followed by Fred McGriff, then Chipper Jones, Eddie Perez to bat 7th, Tony Graffanino 8th, and Greg Maddux will complete the batting order. The outfield, Steins in left, Nunnally in center, Sanders in right. The infield, Green, Reese, Boone, and Perez. Joe Oliver behind the plate. And on the mound, his 60th appearance, his 4th as a starter, his 5th as a starter. See what he's done in his other times as a starter. One of the reasons this man could concern you a little bit. He's left-handed, he throws strikes, and he has really taken to the starting role.
And he's got the top of the order here in the bottom of the first. Kenny Lofton, Jeff Blauser, Danny Bautista. Yet another batting order being employed by Bobby Cox tonight in an effort to get this team hitting. Lofton's been one of the few constants at the top of the order, hitting .347. Got Danny Bautista in the number 3 hole tonight. Chipper Jones back down in the 6th spot for the second time. Inside corner for a strike to Lofton. Remlinger 1-0 lifetime against Atlanta. Upstairs, 1-1.
He's confounding a lot of scouts too, Pete, because if you've watched him in the past, he has never put together any consistency. Scouts also say he's 2 or 3 miles an hour faster, so they wonder if this is here to stay. Or has he just hit a spot right now where everything is going well? I know one thing. When he threw against the Braves up in Cincinnati, that was a much livelier fastball and a much crisper breaking ball than we had ever seen out of Remlinger.
Here's the 2-1 on the way, and it's low, ball 3. Another thing you wonder is if after 55 appearances out of the bullpen, he's got enough left to go out there and give you a lot of innings as a starter the rest of the year.
Good point.
But so far, so good. After taking over when John Smiley was traded, 3-2 now, and Lofton. Reds scored a run, top of the first. Nobody on or out here in the bottom half. And a leadoff walk. Lofton aboard to start the game for Atlanta. And the batter will be Jeff Blauser. Blauser 312, 15 homers, 61 RBIs. Just completed a 4 for 18 road trip. And he's back up in the number 2 spot in the order tonight.
And he's playing not 100%. From an ugly toenail
Yeah, he's
to
had that toe injury, which has plagued him for a little over a week now. 1 ball, no strikes.
It's one of those injuries that you don't want to watch get treated either. Those are the times you stay out of the Braves training room.
Here's the 1-0. Right through there for a strike. 1-1. The Braves begin the night 4 games up on the Florida Marlins. Here's the 1-1, foul back. And a count 1-2 on Blauser. Cardinals and the Marlins begin a series tonight in Florida. St. Louis has taken an early lead in that game.
I was watching that game just before we came on the air, and they're battling the possibility of a rain delay down there tonight. It was sprinkling as they began the game. So what else is new?
And Lofton jumped too soon. They've got him in a rundown. Reese back to Perez. Perez applies the tag. Caught stealing for the 17th time this year as Kenny Lofton broke a little bit too soon. And now he's slow getting to his feet, and Jeff Porter's coming out.
He looks like he jammed a shoulder or an arm. Good move by Remlinger. Lofton was going on first movement, and Remlinger didn't even give him the high leg kick. The tag here. Let's see if we can see if he lands on his right shoulder, because that's what he was like. He was. No, he stepped on his hand. Perez stepped on his hand. Looked like when he went down there, Perez's foot came right down on him. See right there if we can see if he does step on it. Yes.
Stepped on his arm just above the hand. And that's what's being looked at right now by Jeff Porter. 2-2 the count now on Blauser. Down low, 3-2. This went off to somewhat of a ragged start, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's
28 pitch first inning for Greg Maddux. That's unheard of.
Walk by Remlinger to start it. And now pickoff.
Here's the 3-2. Another walk. Well, you can pitch a perfect game this way, but it's tough. Keep walking people and picking them off first. Danny Bautista hitting in the 3-hole tonight for the first time this year. He's batting .246 with 3 homers and 6 RBIs. Had that game against Mike Hampton in Houston that saw Bobby Cox really shake up the batting order. Biggest shakeup of the year. He had Fred McGriff on the bench. Colburn was playing first. He had Bautista and Jones in the outfield with Klesko and Tucker both on the bench. Well, the outfield contingent the same tonight against the lefty, but Fred McGriff does get the start at first. Fastball strike inside corner, 0-1.
That's something you'll see Danny Bautista do. I know Rafael Belliard talks to him a lot about hitting, and he has a great respect for him. But you'll see him after guys have walked and he's had trouble throwing strikes, force the pitcher to throw that first strike.
And in this case, Remlinger throws the first 2. Now Dr. Chandler has come out to look at the right arm of Kenny Lofton, and he is wincing.
That's never good news.
No, it is not.
When the doctor comes in the dugout, that is never good news.
Here's the 0-2. Just got a piece of it. Stays alive, 0-2.
Yeah, you can see Kenny Lofton flinch every time Dr. Chandler squeezes the arm. Dr. Chandler, by the way, successful surgery on Terrell Wade, arthroscopic surgery on his rotator cuff, and should be able to start rehabbing right away. And we wish Terrell all the best. Good guy.
Here's the 0-2 now to Bautista. Struck him out. A down and away fastball. First strikeout for Remlinger. 2 gone in the inning. And the batter will be Andrew Jones. As they continue to administer to Kenny Lofton in the Atlanta dugout. It's already been a tough day injury-wise for the Braves, and the news on Mark Lemke, if you weren't with us at the outset, turned out to be worse than expected. It's what they call a high ankle sprain. Those are the worst kind. Those are the kind that really swell up. And it's going to take Mark a couple of weeks to get better. So he went on the DL, and Keith Lockhart came off. Here's Andrew, 244, 13 homers, 49 RBIs. Snapped that 0 for 23 skid on the road trip. Had a couple of hits against Houston.
But those are the only 2 hits in his last 28 at-bats that he's had. So he's looking to get on track. And he seems to hit better when he's playing than he does when he's coming off the bench.
2 balls, no strikes on Andrew Jones. Yeah, as a pinch hitter, he is 0 for 16. He has not adapted too well to that role.
Having spent some time in the American League, it might surprise you, too, how many guys say they can't DH. They can't sit around and then go hit successfully. They need the activity of playing defense.
Good stop by Oliver, but the count now 3-0 on Jones. Fred McGriff waits on deck. And although the move to Mark Lemke to the disabled list brought Keith Lockhart back, he's even coming back a couple of days early. That ribcage muscle pull not completely healed. It's a lot better than it was, but he still felt some twinges when he tried to hit with it on Wednesday night in Houston. 3rd walk of the inning issued by Remlinger.
This is not the way Remlinger pitched against the Braves up in Cincinnati. He was much more aggressive up there. Made crisper, better pitches. But tonight, it's, with the exception of Danny Batista, it's been nibble, nibble.
Fred McGriff, 270 for the year. 16 homers, 69 RBIs. He was just 2 for 15 on the road trip, and he comes up empty 0-1. Jones and Blauser, your runners. Foul back. And it's 0-2 now on Fred McGriff. Some of Fred's best hitting this year has come against Cincinnati. It's been the case for a lot of the Braves. He's a .311 lifetime hitter against the Reds. Stays alive, still 0-2.
And as we see a lot with Fred McGriff, Remlinger is another left-hander that hasn't exactly given him a lot of trouble either.
Hitting .316 lifetime, 6 for 19 with a homer. A lot of pitches for both starters in the first inning tonight. Maddux had a 28-pitch first inning. Here's the 0-2. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Fred seeing a steady diet of pitches away. Fastballs, breaking balls.
From both left-handers and right-handers. Yeah, if they come in on him, it's an accident or way in off the plate. They don't try to throw a strike in there.
Accidental foul off the bat of McGriff. Still a ball and 2 strikes. And if anything, the purpose of that pitch was just to move him back a little further. And then go right back outside again.
You can bet that they won't come back in there with a strike. Down in Miami, a 2-run homer by Mark McGwire. He has gotten hot. Cardinals 3, Florida nothing.
Here's the 1-2. And he went, says Jerry Crawford. Second strikeout of the inning for Remlinger. And that's all for Atlanta. 3 walks, and Remlinger does not give up a run. 1-0 Reds after 1. The strikes. Inside corner, 1-1. That'll be out of play up into the seats, first base side. A ball and 2 strikes now on Brett Boone.
I know that he hasn't had a lot of success against Greg Maddux, but he falls into that category that gives guys who give Maddux trouble. He calls them hacks or hackers. They just go up there flailing away. Sometimes you make a good pitch and they just nail it to right field. It could be inside, outside, up, or down.
The 2-2 on the way. Got him outside corner. 4 strikeouts on the night for Maddux. And a very quick second inning after the leadoff single by Willie Green. Still 1-0 Cincinnati.
Oh, where do you want this?
Hey now, I ordered a new copier.
This is better than new, my friend. Allow me to demonstrate. Oh, what do we have here? Wow. Enlarges, too. Even Coley. I'll take it.
For the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light.
That was close. I didn't think I could shove this baby through.
That foot odor.
Can anything stop it?
Odor Eaters insoles with genuine Arm & Hammer baking soda to neutralize odor-causing sweaty foot acid.
No more foot odor.
Only Odor Eaters stops foot odor with genuine Arm & Hammer baking soda.
At Firestone, we take our competitive tradition seriously. Take our sale on steel-belted radios. Now competitively priced at 4 for $99. With a
time of the night, this time of the year, you'll see everybody pointing to the ball when it goes up. The sky, the lights still haven't taken effect. It's a gray sky now, so right away everybody will run to where the ball is and say, there it is, there it is. It'd be very easy to lose it.
I'm going to go back and check on something when we have our next commercial break on Chipper Jones. He's won for his last 13, and I wonder how many of those outs have come on the first pitch. Seems like he's jumped on a lot of first pitches and not done much with them lately. Eddie Perez, the batter, 219 with 5 homers. 1 ball, no strikes. Mark McGwire's home run in Florida estimated at 500 feet. Count 2-1 on Perez. Yeah, I've got Chipper Jones, Don, since the beginning of the Houston series, making 5 outs on first pitch swings.
And when you're struggling, I guess the tendency is to try to be over anxious to get out of it. But usually that first pitch is not going to be a good one when a pitcher knows that you're having problems. There's no reason, and you're swinging. There's no reason to throw a good pitch on the first pitch. There have been some managers, excuse me, Pete, that I have been around who, when a guy's going through that kind of stretch, would say, take a strike before you swing. Would say to him, no, I don't want you swinging the bat. You get 1 strike on you.
2 balls, 2 strikes now on Perez. Tap to the left side, fielded by Green. Across to first in time, 2 away. And that'll bring up Tony Graffinino. Graffinino at 250, 3 homers, 9 RBI, is going to get a chance to play in the next couple of weeks, along with Keith Lockhart at second base, with Mark Lemke on the disabled list with a severe right ankle sprain. One ball, no strikes. That evens the count, and Graffinino 1-1. Remlinger had been a starting pitcher throughout most of his minor league career, so this role nothing new for him. In fact, he hadn't pitched much in relief at all until this year. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Remlinger out of Dartmouth.
How do they usually do against Cornell?
Usually split. That is all for Graffinino, and a very efficient inning for Mike Remlinger this time after walking 3 in the first. 1, 2, 3. Go the Braves in the second. If you want to come out and watch the Reds and Braves play, standing room tickets, all that's left for tomorrow. There are some scattered singles in addition to standing room left for Sunday. 0-2 on Remlinger. 4-0 now as St. Louis has knocked Tony Saunders out of there. Braves down 1-0 in this one. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Remlinger. And he's out of there, and that's 5 strikeouts for Greg Maddux. 1 gone in the third. Back down to the top of the order, and Pokey Reese, who got a base hit, stole second, and came around to score the game's only run back in the first. Remember early in the year when the Braves and Reds first hooked up and Barry Larkin was trying to play with that injured Achilles. And the word was he was going to try to get through the season without having to have the surgery until after the year was over. Didn't work. He hasn't been able to play regularly in a long time. He's going to have surgery early in September. So Pokey Reese getting the playing time at short down. The count 0-2.
Remember the first time up, he hit a pitch off Maddux that ran right back over the inside corner. If you watch Greg Maddux over the course of a year, if a guy tattoos him on a pitch, there's a pretty good chance he will never see it again.
The 0-2 on the way. A little chopper toward short. Blauser on to first. Has to hurry because Pokey Reese gets down that line in a hurry. 2 men gone. And that'll bring up John Nunnally, who struck out his first time up. Nunnally and Steins came over from Kansas City in the trade for a couple of pitchers, Hector Carrasco and Scott Service.
He has a little hitting streak going, doesn't he?
Hit safely in 6 in a row. 0-1 the count. Played some junior college baseball down at Miami-Dade. One of the better junior college programs around. Nothing in 2 on Nunnally.
That strikeout last time, the call strikeout, got him swinging at that pitch. Remember, Maddux started a fastball in on him that ran back over the inside corner. Now anything that's coming in there, he's hacking at it. And that was the Maddux cutter that ran further in on him.
Here's the 0-2 into right center field. That's going to fall in for a base hit. Hit it right off the fists.
But he looks like a quick learner, doesn't he? See, he was struck out in there looking, and he says, if you're going to come back in there, you may break a bat, but you're not going to get me on a call strike 3. You might get me swinging. That's that same comeback pitch, a little bit higher than maybe Maddux wanted it, but still on the inside part of the plate.
And that'll bring up Chris Steins, who drove in the game's only run with a base hit back in the first inning. Now up to 457 for the year, and he lines one into right field down the right field line. That's a fair ball. Nunnally heading for third. Andrew Jones quickly gets it back to the middle of the infield to hold Steins to a single. National League pitchers can't get Steins out. He's 22 for 47 now since coming up from Indianapolis.
That's 5 hits for the Reds, and 4 of the 5 have come on fastballs that moved further and got in on a hitter. See, he wants that out away from him. Anytime a catcher is setting someplace and you see him reach like a first baseman to try to catch it, you know that that's not where he wants it. It's not unusual for most pitchers, but we're so used to seeing Greg Maddux hit the center of the mitt. It's unusual to see Eddie Perez have to reach for a ball.
That's 5 hits now for the Reds, and here's Eduardo Perez, who struck out his first time. Stein stole a base in the first inning, his 5th of the year. Got a pretty good breeze tonight blowing in from left field. Ball, no strikes.
Where you will see that take effect, Pete, is anything just to the left or right of the scoreboard is going to hang up, but you might see it push something toward the right field corner. Here's a look at the flags. See the gap to the left of the scoreboard and to the right of the scoreboard. That's open, so it can blow in there, and it'll cause a ball in the alley to hang up just a little.
Off the end of the bat, 1 ball, 1 strike on Perez. Perez now 27 years old, former first-round pick of the Angels after graduating from Florida State, and the son of Tony Perez. Count goes to 2-1. Again, Steins chased back. A lot of pitches for Greg Maddux. 52 pitches is normally where he is in about the 6th inning. We're in the top of the 3rd. Outside corner, 2-2.
And 2-1 strikes to ball is pretty good for. That's pretty good for most pitchers, but if you watch Maddux over the course of the year, some of their numbers he gets like that, you're kind of spoiled.
Now a 2-2 pitch due to Perez. Steins on the run. It's punched foul out of play right side. If you've watched the Braves and a lot of Maddux's starts, you've heard a lot of the time when we've talked about he goes an entire game, only has 1 3-ball count on a hitter, and in some cases only 2 2-ball counts on a hitter. Not tonight. He has gone 3-2 on 2 hitters, and he's had a 2-ball count on 1, 2, 3, 4 more. So 6 hitters have gotten at least to a 2-1 or a 2-2 or a 3-2 count. And that's uncharted waters for Greg Maddux most nights.
You were talking earlier about it being cool and dry. First time the Braves have played in that kind of condition for a while. A cool and dry air will cause you to get more movement on your fastball. So he may be having to make an adjustment because he is getting more movement.
Here goes Steins again. 2-2 pitches low. Now they've got the runner at 3rd hung up. Nunnally being chased back. Chipper Jones running him toward the plate. Maddux applies the tag. Well, this has been a strange game for Greg Maddux. It's still 1-0 Cincinnati as we head to the bottom of the 3rd.
Solo homers in the first inning. San Diego an early lead against New York. Colorado, Houston, no score. The American League coming up shortly. Baltimore's taking an early lead over Minnesota. Toronto with 2 in the first. Detroit with 1 in the first against Milwaukee. All the rest of the action coming up just a little bit later on.
Here's the 1-1 now to Greg Maddux, and it's a strike in the inside corner, 1-2. Maddux for the year hitting .061. 3 for 49. 2 of the 3 hits doubles. He is down on strikes. That's 4 strikeouts for Remlinger. And he is now retired 5 in a row after walking 3 in the first inning. Back down to the top of the order, and Kenny Lofton. He walked in the first, then was picked off and got stepped on by Eduardo Perez. Had to have his right arm wrapped.
That's the lead arm on his swing, too, and he's not the type hitter that uses top hand. The left hand is the hand that hitters who roll the bat over. So for Lofton, that lead arm is probably more important than it would be, say, for a Chipper Jones or for Eddie Perez or Javi Lopez.
1 ball, no strikes. One man out, base is empty. 1-0 Cincinnati in the bottom of the 3rd. Little pop-up. Pokey Reese makes the catch. 2 down. And that'll bring up Jeff Blauser.
Watch this swing, Pete. We were talking about how he leads with the front hand inside out. He had to let go there. Watch, he just drags it through. He can't drag that right hand and snap it through there and slice it to left. So the bat lags, and that's what normally happens. You usually get a little lazy pop.
Jeff Blauser walked in the first inning. He's down in the count 0-1. Braves still looking for their first hit off of Remlinger. One ball, one strike. Braves hitting just .217 as a team this month of August. Perez in foul territory gives it a look but has no play. And the count now 1-2.
Yeah, there are 5 or 6 guys who want to see September get here because the numbers in August about 150 or below for about half the batting order.
And you look at that average, .217 for the month of August, and say, well, how long has it been since the Braves have had a month like that? Goes back a long time. April of 1990. That's before all these string of division winning and pennant winning years began. They hit .207 the opening month of 1990, and that's the lowest batting average for the Braves in a month until now. Back up the middle. There's the first hit of the night for Atlanta. A 2-out single for Jeff Blauser. And it'll bring up Danny Bautista.
2-out, 2-strike single and some good 2-strike hitting for Blauser. Pulling his hands through and taking an inside-out swing to hit it right back up the middle.
Bautista, a strikeout victim in the first inning.
Last time up, he took a strike. Let's see if he jumps on the first pitch. Took another one.
0-1. Braves got him from the Tigers last year for a minor league outfielder, Anton French.
He never really got a chance last year, though, to get untracked and to show.
No, he only had 20 at-bats when he got hit. And was out for the year after getting hit in the face by that pitch. But it's been a marvelous comeback for Bautista. He certainly has shown no ill effects.
We were talking, I think you and I were talking to him after a game. He said, you got to treat that like an accident. If you have an accident in your car, you don't stop driving. So he said, that's what it was. It was an accident.
It's easy to say that, but to make yourself believe it, and he apparently has.
Yeah, a lot of players never recover from getting hit with pitches.
Well, a lot of talk the last week about the anniversary of the Tony Conigliaro beating.
Right.
Which, in just about every way, ended his career. He came back and tried to play, but was not even close to being the same player.
I played with a good example, Dickie Thon.
Another one, yep. One ball, 2 strikes. And down on strikes for the second time tonight, Bautista. That's 5 strikeouts for Remlinger. And at the end of 3, it's still 1-0 Cincinnati. To win a National League batting title, we'll have the answer for you in the bottom half of the inning. Eduardo Perez will lead off here in the 4th. 1 run, 5 hits for the Reds. No runs, 1 hit for the Braves, Don.
It's been kind of funny watching what's been taking place. If you watch Greg Maddux, he likes to come out there, throw his 5 or 6 pitches, get going. Eddie Perez, remember, was at the plate when Nunley got picked off, and I think he forgot he was supposed to lead off. So he was late coming out, and Maddux was just pounding his glove, waiting for him to get out there. And Perez may see some nasty pitches for holding up Greg Maddux. Perez and Jerry Crawford exchanged a few smiles when Eduardo Perez got to home plate. Perez, Sanders, and Green, first 3 due up. 1 ball, 1 strike. Eduardo Perez, we probably have said it before, but they used to have some great clubhouse games in Cincinnati with the kids. You had Pete Rose Jr. You had Brian McRae, Pedro Borbon, Eduardo Perez, and I know
Ken Griffey Jr.
Ken Griffey Jr. You know, they had some pretty good softball games in that locker room.
They were called the Little Red Machine.
Got him with the breaking ball. That's what you get for holding up Greg Maddux. Here's out number 1. That's also strikeout number 6 for Maddux. To bring up Reggie Sanders, who last time up took call strike 3. Sellout crowd here tonight and a lot of good groups. Getting near the end of the summer, so folks are taking advantage of the weekends before school starts, and a lot of other activities start eating up the time. So a very colorful crowd here tonight too. That's out of play right side. There must be a crowd of, what would you guess, Pete, 300 or 400 sporting those yellow shirts up there?
Oh, at least, yeah, at least that many. Not sure what group that is, but they've got about 2 sections up there, 3 sections.
Ground ball past Blauser. Maddux has thrown 2 curveballs in the inning. One was a beauty, and that one wasn't exactly where he wanted it, and that's 6 hits for the Reds. Sanders now 10 out of 32 in his career against Greg Maddux. He'll stand at first for Green. Sanders has 7 steals. And more ball clubs, if they are fortunate enough to get a base runner off Greg Maddux, are starting to run right away. See how the Reds play this one. Not going on the first pitch, and it's fouled away. 0-1. A couple of those groups we were talking about, folks from Pine Forest down in the Pensacola area up here, and also a group from Lynn Haven, which is the north side of Panama City. So Northwest Florida, well represented. Pitch out and nothing doing. A ball and a strike.
Reds have gotten at least 1 hit in 4 straight innings now off Maddux. He's given up 6 hits in the game. In 11 of his starts this year, he didn't give up 6 hits.
And the Reds have gotten themselves out of those innings in some unusual ways. A line drive off the bat of Oliver, a double play, and then a strikeout of Boone in the first, and then Nunley getting picked off when he was bluffed by Eddie Perez, faking a throw to second. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Green. 3 out of 8 in his career against Greg Maddux. And when you see this guy, he doesn't look like the kind of guy that would give you some tape measure home runs. He's not 6'5" and 240, but he has hit some rockets this year. 2-2. See, that's the movement I think you could be able to pick up if you watch a catcher's forearm. Just think, if he shows it again, when you give signs, there is no movement of the blue sleeves there. See, when he just tucks in and gives a sign, but if you're throwing that thumb up, you would see movement of the forearm. There he goes. Swing and a miss. Throw to second. Got him. Strike him out, throw him out. That's a play that the Braves have had go against him, and now it works for them here in the 4th, and it'll put a lid on the Reds' half of the 4th inning. No runs a hit, no errors, and nobody left. Braves turn. It's 1-0 Reds. Means your timing is off just a little
bit, yeah.
Let's see what they try to do to him on the 2-2 count. Up and away, and it's 3-2. So much is made about his speed and his catching the ball and his offense. He's got one of the best arms in the National League. And in limited play, he has done a good job out there. And in limited play is developing quite an eye at the plate. That's the 2nd time he's walked tonight. It's the 4th time Remlinger has walked a Brave. And the leadoff man is on for Fred McGriff.
That game we're keeping our eye on down in Florida between the Cardinals and the Marlins. Cardinals took a 4-0 lead in that game, and now the Marlins have come back and scored 3 in the bottom of the 4th. And they're still batting 4-3 St. Louis.
Unusual game. Pitch total really starting to mount for both of these guys. Add one more, and it's down and outside. 1-0. McGriff, first time up, struck out swinging. Remlinger and Oliver stayed away except for a showcase pitch inside and then went right back outside with a breaking ball. Nothing inside for strikes to McGriff. Not many strikes at all this inning for Remlinger, and that's going to bring his catcher out to visit with him. May also bring his pitching coach, Don Gullett.
Almost a repeat of the first inning for Remlinger. He was wild in the first inning, walked 3, but got out of it. Then he settled down, threw a lot of strikes in the second and third innings.
At one point, set down 6 in a row. And now the strike zone jumping around on him.
I was reading some information on Jack McKeon the day before coming to the ballpark, Don, and one thing that he has done a little bit differently than almost any other manager right now in Major League Baseball. You're not going to see Joe Oliver look over to that dugout too often for a sign from Jack McKeon on whether to go to first or not. Jack McKeon leaving that up to his catchers. He wants his catchers more involved in the game, so you won't see a lot of the looks over to the dugout to get instructions on a throw to first.
Well, we have gotten to the point, when I say we, I'm talking about all of baseball. I've pretty much gotten to the point where you discourage pitchers and catchers for thinking game situations.
Everything is programmed.
And it's called by a coach or a manager from the dugout. Throw over on this, step off on this, hold on this pitch. And so I think that you can lose your sense for what is taking place in the game and lose your feel.
Sense of involvement.
And so what happens now, all of a sudden, if the manager has to go to the boys' room or get a drink of water and it's something critical, and you got to think. Snap throw to first there.
Oh, that was close.
Very close. I don't know where Joe Oliver has discovered the fountain of youth, but he is giving some great targets for Remlinger and some targets that are really down low in the strike zone. Hitter's pitch, 3-1. And it is hammered to right center field. I believe that is going to have enough. So McGriff gets to count his way and gets all of one. Braves jump on top. It's 2-1.
Been a good sign the last week and a half or so. Fred McGriff has been hitting more and more with some power to the alleys. That's his 17th homer of the year. RBIs number 70 and 71. And when he is in a hitting groove, most of his hits will come from left center to right center field, and several of them will leave the ballpark as that one did.
2-1. Here's Chipper Jones. He chases the first one, and there you go. You were talking about outs on the first pitch. What they're starting to do with Chipper Jones is go right up the ladder with high fastball.
Yeah, that was not a strike he swung at there. That was up around his chin.
By the way, that home run by Fred McGriff, I think that's the 16th home run that the Braves have hit off Reds pitching this year. That's how they have gotten that 7-1 domination. And it's a great point you bring out about Fred McGriff. What has he done? 17 home runs. 10 of them have been hit from that spot to the same spot over in the left center field. Fair ball, could be 2. Steins will play it off the wall. Braves have 3 in a row reach, including Chipper Jones' 32nd double of the year.
It was a hanger, and Chipper Jones all over it. Still nobody out here in the bottom of the 4th.
And he'll stand at second for Eddie Perez, who grounded to third first time up. If he's going to ground out this time, he'll probably try to take a shot at either Boone or Perez. Sure, he'd like to drive Chipper Jones in, but the Braves at worst would like to see him get him over to third. Going to try it with a bunt. No balls and 1 strike.
Estimated home run distance on McGriff's homer, 412 feet.
That's a pretty good poke into that wind we were talking about. And that's a part of the ballpark where the wind would have affected the flight of it. They won't have to get him over. Remlinger will do it. A wild pitch, and Chipper Jones is at third. Still nobody out. The Reds will probably have to bring the infield in.
Muscled up a little bit too much on that pitch.
Green is in. Perez is in. Reese and Boone 5 or 6 steps back. Not unusual for Remlinger to throw one to the screen.
Unusual to be leading the league, though, when you pitch most of the year in relief.
That could be hazardous to your health, couldn't it? Popped up on the infield, drifting into foul territory. And there is out number 1. May have drifted just back inside the foul line.
We almost had a collision there between Eduardo Perez and Eduardo Perez. Eddie didn't know which way to go there.
Neither Eddie. And here's Graffinino. Infield still in. First time up, Graffinino struck out looking.
These are the runs that the Braves have had trouble getting lately. They might get a home run like McGriff's to give them a couple of runs. Now you got a runner at third.
This would be a good time for a squeeze, too. You got a left-hander there.
That's what the Braves had to go to in Houston to get the run in.
You got a left-handed pitcher. That means his back is to third, so he's going to work from the stretch. He's not going to be able to see Chipper Jones. Graffinino normally handles the bat fairly well. 1-1. That's a pretty play when it's worked. The element of surprise, the runner timing his break, and then the hitter just making sure he gets the ball bunted out in front of the plate.
An impossible play to defense if it's executed right.
Good stop by Oliver. Or Remlinger would have lengthened his lead.
A lot of elements of surprise when a suicide squeeze is called.
You know what's overlooked? There's a set of signs there. The answer would come right there, and there always has to be an answer. And if that third base coach doesn't see an answer, he walks over and tells the runner, it's not on, it's not on. But you look for the answer. Ground ball, foul ball. Just outside of third, and it's 2-2.
Fair when it started, but foul by the time it got to third. There's also an element of surprise in the look of the eyes of the third base runner when the hitter missed the sign and whistles a ball just like that down the third base line if the squeeze was supposed to be on, which it wasn't that time.
In the air to center field. That will get him home, or it should. The tag, and here comes the throw. It's a good one, but it's a late one. Sacrifice fly, RBI, 3-1 Braves. Graffinino now in double figures in RBIs. That's his 10th.
And that may look like just a routine run for the Braves, but boy, it's been tough for Atlanta to score that guy from third base with less than 2 outs lately. So Tony Graffinino treated like a conquering hero as he gets back to the dugout.
How big is the wild pitch, too, because the Braves, unable to get him over, would have been unable to get him over with the bat of Eddie Perez. 3-1 to score. Maddux takes a strike. That'll make it 1-1. Good at bat for Tony Graffinino. He only had 1 strike to play with. 2-1 to Maddux. And you know, when you don't get to play that often, you hope you get an opportunity like that somewhere during the ball game. In the center field. And there is out number 3. But it's a good inning for the Braves. They push 3 across on only 2 hits, a sacrifice fly, 1 swing of Fred McGriff's bat to right center field. Good for 2. The Braves put a 3 on the board. Heading to the 5th, it's 3-1. And Remlinger. The Reds with 1 in the first inning. An RBI single by Steins. The Braves push across 3 in the bottom of the 4th. Two and one. Oliver doesn't get that one, and it's 2 and 2. On the ground and through. Good piece of hitting by Oliver. He picks up his first base hit. The Reds have out hit the Braves 7-3.
And they've had at least one hit in each of the 5 innings now off of Maddux. Maddux trying to become the first 17-game winner in the National League tonight. Roger Clemens going for number 20 for Toronto tonight.
Boy, what a year he is having. Here's Boone. He struck out looking his first time. He chased a couple of pitches further out than that and then took one just like that one for call strike 3. Well, he couldn't buy a hit the first half of the season, and he went down to Kansas City where his father was managing or in the process of being relieved of managing, and worked out with him. Good piece of hitting there. That's headed to right center field. Boone thinking 2, and the throw will come in the second. Late. It is a double. Reds threatening. They have the tying run at second. Boone is there. Oliver to third. Nobody out. For Boone, his 20th double of the year.
And again, a pitch that maybe got a little bit more of the plate than Greg Maddux wanted. That ball was easily 2 or 3 inches inside the corner.
That'll bring up Remlinger. First time up, he struck out swinging. Hitting 111. 1 out of 9. He does have 3 RBIs. And we got to show you where the outfield is playing him. Look in left field where Batista is, and Little League depth in center is Lofton. The deepest of the trio is there in right field, and Andrew Jones. But they are defying Remlinger to hit something over their head. Chopper out in front of the plate. Maddux will look Oliver back and then take care of the pitcher. There's out number 1. And here comes Pokey Reese. You folks who are used to hearing us talk a lot about dinner and a movie, it is coming up afterwards. Paul and Annabelle are probably making jerk chicken or something because the movie is The Jerk. But the promos did not reach us, nor did our usual sampling of the food which they put out there for us.
Must be awfully good.
Yeah, it must have been consumed by people over there. But stick around for dinner and a movie afterwards. The movie is The Jerk. Who was in that?
Steve Martin.
Ah. There's strike 1 to Reese. He's single and he's grounded to short. I still want to see Blazing Saddles. A little bit outside. Watch part of the selling job that Maddux does on his pitches. Anytime you're a pitcher who is a changeup pitcher, then you have to move the ball around in your glove to fix it. But if you watch Greg Maddux, he does moving. He'll start with a fastball grip. Then he'll go to a fastball grip. Chopper toward third. Chipper Jones got a tough play. He'll take the out, or did he? A little tap dancing and some fancy footwork by Fred McGriff to get the bag as he goes into foul territory. Out number 2, but the Reds do get a run out of it.
It's a good decision, though, by Chipper Jones. Would have been a tough play at the plate. He would have had to turn his body or else throw off the wrong foot to home. As it was, the throw sailed a little bit to first base, and McGriff just dragged that foot across the bag to get the out.
What a good play by Fred McGriff. Had that foot dragging right across there as he shifted into foul territory. That's not an easy play to make. Boone is now at third. 2 gone for Nunley. 1 out of 2, a single and a strikeout. And the Braves have been staying right there on Nunley all night long. First time up, he took it. for call strike 3, but the next time up, Maddux came in there a couple of times. He didn't kill the ball, but he did muscle it in the right field for a base hit. A ball and a strike. Changeup misses, and that'll make it 2-1.
Well, as Steve Martin will be saying later on tonight, we move over to television. I got my media guides, and that's all I need. My media guides. Oh, and this scorebook. Media guides and this scorebook. That's all I need.
And your pen.
And this pen.
Little looper down the left field side. It's a long run for Batista. And he'll run out of room, and it's 2-2. And the
media guides, the scorebook, and this pen. That's all I need.
And the notes.
And then, oh, the notes.
Media guide, the
scorebook, the pen, the notes.
And the eraser. Oh, you use a pen. Two and two. Back inside, and a foul ball. Nunley is one of the few hitters we have seen against Greg Maddux adjust to that inside pitch, and he hasn't seen that much of Maddux.
No, he'd only seen him twice before coming into tonight's game.
But if you look where his left foot is, it's almost behind the plate, so he better be ready to hack at something inside. Up that time, tucked him into that one. Perfect pitch by Maddux. Nunley's not so sure. For Maddux, strikeout number 8, but the Reds used 2 hits to get 1 run. Final out of the inning. Thanks for spending the first half with us. Enjoy your weekend. It's a 3-2 ball game.
Close ball game.
Yeah, it's a funny night for Greg Maddux, giving up, striking out 8, 1 away from his season's high. 11 is his career high, and yet he's been hit rather hard. Funny to figure.
I don't know that he's had real sharp control early in the count as he usually does. He's gone to some deep counts on guys tonight that you don't normally see. But so far he's got the lead thanks to a 3-run rally by the Braves in the bottom of the 4th. And the top of the order for the Braves here in the 5th. Lofton, Blauser, and Bautista. Kinney has walked. He has been picked off, and he has popped up.
84 pitches for Maddux already. That's a ton for him.
That is a lot. 1-1 to Lofton. Two and one. Yeah, but it seems like when you watch Greg Maddux pitch, and like in the dugout just now with Leo, a lot of times his expression never really changes much. 3-1. Whether he's shutting out somebody or no hitting them, he might have that same glassy-eyed look over there talking to Leo about maybe 1 or 2 bad pitches he made last inning that didn't go where he wanted them to. Out of play and a full count to Lofton. But always fun to watch pitch. Payoff pitch to Lofton. Up the middle, base hit. Fourth hit of the night for the Braves, and a good start to the 5th inning. When you look at the Braves' struggles on that last road trip, or even in the month of August, you really can't include Kenny Lofton in that. He was 8 for 20 on the road trip with a couple of doubles. Blauser had the Braves' first hit tonight, a single to center with 2 out in the 3rd. And Lofton and Eduardo Perez have a chance to talk it over there at first base after it looked like Perez stepped on him in the 1st inning, spiked him. Blauser shows bunt, but it's low.
Kenny got picked off trying to steal again earlier in this game. That's the 17th time he's been caught. So we looked up the records just to be sure. In the American League, Ricky Henderson caught 42 times. He stole 130 30 bases. That was in 1982. And in the National League, Miller Huggins, the Cardinal shortstop back in 1914, in 148 games, stole 32 bases, got thrown out 36 times. Wow.
Trying to keep Lofton close again.
And you were telling me you had a somewhat dubious.
Yeah, in Seattle one year I got caught 18 times, 12 of them on swinging hit and run plays that were swung on and missed, I should say. Kind of a description of our entire season that year. 2-0 now to Blauser. I kept thinking one of these guys is going to put it in play.
It never happened.
Yeah. (2-0) the count. 3-0. Jeff lays off a high fastball. Jeff said his ankle was feeling a little better after he had turned it over the bag at Houston until he fouled a ball off the same ankle the next night.
He was not a happy camper when that happened.
Don Gullett on the hot line to the bullpen. 3-0 pitch. He's taking and draws a free pass. And that's the 5th walk issued by Remlinger as Jack McKeon looks on. And I believe the bullpen just got busy, so it'll have to hurry. In his starts this year, or at least in his last 3 starts, Remlinger had walked 9 in 20 innings. And he's walked 5 tonight.
Pedro A. Martinez, the lefty, in the bullpen for Cincinnati. Looks lonesome, Jimmy.
Danny Bautista has fanned twice. Reds are looking for the bunt, but Danny pulls the bat back and the pitch is in there anyway. Good speed with Lofton at second, Blauser at first. You see Perez creeping in from first. Willie Green not that close at third. A little bunt out in front of the plate. Oliver hurries, but his only play is to first. And the Reds are saying he bunted it twice. That the ball came up and hit his bat twice. And if so, it would be a foul ball. And here comes Jack McKeon. Jerry Crawford did not hear it or see it.
You could see Jerry say he didn't bunt the ball twice, Jack. I could see it. Let's look there.
You should be able to tell here. Oh, he sure did.
Shh, don't tell anybody what he did.
Let's see the ball come up and then start out toward fair territory.
And it looks like Crawford is not going to ask for help from any other umpire, which, trust us, is a break for Atlanta.
Still don't understand that thought process. I don't understand why you wouldn't want to get it right. McKeon yelling at Tom Hallion, but Tom Hallion can't do anything unless Jerry Crawford asks him. So they're loaded up for the cleanup hitter. I'm sorry, not loaded up. The sacrifice works since Oliver threw him out at first. So second and third, but the infield is going to play in anyway. And it is the cleanup hitter. And Andrew, fooled on the pitch, takes a funny swing. He has walked twice and scored a run.
If you're a new baseball fan and trying to keep score with us, that still only counts as one sacrifice, no matter how many times you put it.
A lot of pitches by both pitchers tonight. That's foul, and 0-2 to Andrew. Andrew has been a patient hitter tonight, but now he's in the hole. And went 2 for 5 in his last start in Houston Tuesday night. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The Reds are 12-13 since Jack McKeon took over, but have won 7 of their last 11. The 1-2 up the middle, base hit. That ought to score 2. Blouse is being waved home. Nunnally is not even going to make the throw. A 2-run single for Andrew Jones. RBIs 50 and 51. And the Braves lead 5-2.
He didn't hit it that well, but he hit it in a perfect spot with the infield in, and he hit a pretty good pitch. Remlinger just missed that ball as it came back up the middle. So the Braves now have a 3-run lead.
And get that run back they gave up in the top of the inning, +1. And some timely hitting, too, like Fred McGriff had in the 4th inning. Andrew picked off. Nope, not yet. They got him picked off. Perez couldn't apply the tag, and now Pokey Reese gets him. Second Braves runner picked off tonight. And Bobby Cox can't believe it.
He just didn't know which way to go. That was a funny looking play. Nobody could do anything.
They were both frozen.
That was not pretty.
1-3-6 on the putout, and Fred up there with nobody on. Gremlinger's 5th pickoff of the year, too. 2-0 to McGriff, who homered his last time up and struck out in the 1st. Two and 1. Fred didn't like that. For McGriff, it was his 17th home run of the year. 2-2.
Oklahoma and Northwestern tomorrow, huh?
From Soldier Field. Got him with the breaking ball. Braves add to their lead. They get 2 in the 5th. On 2 hits. Nobody left. We go to the 6th, 5-2 Atlanta.
McGriff's 2-run homer, Andrew Jones' 2-run single. The big blows back to Joe.
And for the Reds, Chris Steins leads it off and takes a strike. He is 2 for 2 off of Maddux. First time he's faced him. A bloop to right center and a bloop down the right field line. 1-1. Maddux has struck out 8. He has not walked a batter. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Steins has made 12 starts and he's hit in 11 of them. Little slow roller down the 3rd base line. He's probably 3 for 3. Mercy, he's hitting them where they ain't. And leads off the 6th with another hit.
Nine hits off Maddux. That's a huge number, but a bunch of them have been little dinkers like this one. But it looks like a line drive in the box score in the morning paper.
He's on his way to hitting 800. Eduardo Perez can't get one to drop. In fact, he can't make contact, at least so far tonight. He has struck out twice, but 3 homers and 5 RBIs in his last 6 games. Breaking ball misses. 1-0. Eduardo, an All-American out of Florida State. Played in the College World Series with the Seminoles back in '91. One and 1 the count. 5-2 Atlanta. Runner at first here in the top of the 6th inning and nobody out. That got Eddie Perez and got him hard. I'm not sure if it missed the shin guard. Looks like it did and got him right on the toe.
Another look. Yeah, right on the toe.
Got his glove first, didn't it? Maybe not. Maybe not.
Eduardo Perez commiserates with Eduardo Perez. This is another one of those where he may be able to get through the game tonight, but what about tomorrow?
Well, and if you look at his shin guards too, Skip, he has the type. More and more these days you see guys with that double flap covering their foot, so that when they're in their crouch, that flap extends all the way down over the toe of their shoe. Eddie only has a single flap on his.
His next time out there, we may see a double dip.
Mm-hmm. I bet he's got very little feeling in that foot, even though he's staying in there. Maddux does him a favor by throwing to first to give him a little more time. One and two to Perez. Bouncer back to the mound, might be two. Good feed, good relay, got him. 1-6-3 and nicely done all around.
Maddux had to wait just a second for Blauser, but he didn't panic. Gave him a nice throw to handle, and Fred dug it out at first. 2 for the price of 1 there.
3 double plays turned by the Braves tonight. That's one of the reasons the Reds only have 2 runs despite 9 hits. Reggie Sanders has 1 of the hits, and he has struck out. He's missed a lot of the year with injury, like so many of the Cincinnati regulars. One and one. One and two. Good pitch down and in.
Boy, this is a good night to be outside at the 755 Club, isn't it? Nice, cool evening.
My. Good night to be outside anywhere, especially here at the ballpark. Jim Stedham, the spring training coordinator from West Palm Beach here with his wife Dottie, enjoying the game. Knocked down by Maddux, but he's not going to be able to recover in time. He's lucky that one just got leather, and he's mad at himself for not making the play. It'll be a base hit for Reggie Sanders.
This ball is hit hard. Line drive right off the webbing. Boy, he gets a lot of those, doesn't he? Balls hit right back up the middle.
Think how hard that ball was hit and how quick he reacted just to throw his glove up in the general area of the line shot.
Well, he's twirling a neat 10-hitter in the 6th, and he's winning.
Fashioning a beauty. Willie Green takes low. He has singled and struck out. Five runs, 5 hits for the Braves. 2 runs, 10 hits for the Reds. There goes the runner. Swing and a miss. Throw down by Eddie Perez is late. And a stolen base for Reggie Sanders, his 8th of the year. And it's 1-1 to Willie Green.
I think this is their 3rd stolen base of the year, and they've had a couple other guys thrown out on the bases. It's obvious that what they want to do is take advantage of Greg's one weakness, which is holding runners aboard. It's only the 4th time in Maddox's career, Phil, that he's allowed 10 hits this season. 10 hits in a game 4 times.
And that's a season high. The 1-1 to Green. Popped up into shallow left field. Bautista got a late start, though, and he's coming on hard and makes the catch. Woo. He got a bad break on that one, but able to haul it in, and the inning comes to an end. No runs, 2 hits, 1 left. We go to the bottom of the 6th. Braves still leading 5-2.
Streaks this season, and you see 2 of the very best at the top of that list, and the rest of them aren't too bad either. That's your Rogaine leaderboard, Joe.
And if the rotations hold, Kyle's pitching tonight for Houston. Perhaps next Wednesday we could get a Darryl Kyle and Greg Maddux hookup. Chipper Jones leads off the inning by fouling one back. He has doubled and scored a run, and he is flying to right. I'm not sure if Houston's got a day off Monday. They've got a 5-man rotation. 0-2. But that would be fun to watch. Gremlinger's still out there, delivers outside, 1-2.
I left my green book in my other briefcase, but they've got one down in the truck there. Houston is off on Monday.
In the air and deep to right center field. Nunnally on the run, still going. It's off the base of the wall. Chipper's got 2, and he'll stop at second with a double. He gave that one a ride to deep right center and just missed getting his first right-handed home run of the year, but his second double of the night.
And he never shows much emotion, but he was a little upset. He wants desperately to get off the shutout here on the long ball. He didn't miss by much, right at the base of the wall. In fact, looked like Reggie maybe gave up on that one a little too early.
He was watching Nunnally for a lot of that trip, and it actually was closer to him than it was Nunnally. Eddie Perez, let's see if he's going to try to get Chipper over to third again with a bunt. Nope, he's swinging, but he won't get him over. And he is out, 1 away. It's a career high in doubles for Chipper. He's got 33 and 2 tonight. But he's still at second for Tony Graffanino. Among some of the other aches and pains, Tony Graffanino with a sore knee. Back of his right knee has been bothering him. Had it looked at today, but no conclusive decisions as to what it really is. Takes high.
If you joined us late, Keith Lockhart activated tonight, and we're sorry to report Mark Lemke on the 15-day disabled list after that collision in Houston with Derek Bell.
One of the things about that play, Mark's always getting knocked down around second or getting bumped. And he says, as long as I'm in the air, it doesn't bother me, it doesn't scare me. There goes Chipper. Pitch is high, and the throw to third is off the mark, and he's safe. Oliver gave it a great effort, but his throw was a little wide of the bag, and Chipper slides in with his 18th stolen base of the year.
That's a good play, too. That gives Graffanino a chance to get the run home. A good throw maybe has him, but Joe one-hopped it down there.
Good play by Willie Green to keep it from getting into left field. So now the infield has to play in, and Graffanino has a chance to deliver another run. Inside, 3-0, and with the pitcher on deck, he'll probably get the green light here. Tony delivered a sacrifice fly to center his last time up. The 3-0 pitch. He is swinging and fouled it back.
You know, if they want to walk him, they ought to just intentionally walk him.
Yeah. The hot line to the bullpen.
Jeff Tabaka this time.
Tabaka this time. Martinez was up earlier. A line drive to right. Reggie on the run. Can't get it. That'll deliver a run, and Graffinino's got at least a double, and he'll stop at second. And he picks up another RBI, and the Braves lead 6-2. Graffinino's 11th RBI of the year.
Here comes Gullett.
High breaking ball, and he hammered it.
Remlinger started like a house of fire except for his control. He struck out 5 men in the first 3 innings, but he's run into some trouble since.
Well, Don Gullett makes the Bell South call to the bullpen, and we'll be right back. He might be taken off the hook, but his defense and his offense will have to help him out. And Jeff Tabaka will take over for the Cincinnati Reds. He has just been called up. This will only be his second appearance. They've had a rash of injuries, not just to their regular players, their everyday players, but Dave Burba recently on the disabled list shortly after the Braves saw Cincinnati earlier in the month when Burba had some stiffness in his back. Pete Shurik has had some shoulder problems again. He's on the disabled list. Jeff Brantley has missed a lot of the season. And they've gone through a long list of names, and Kent Merker, scheduled to start tomorrow, is going to have to miss his start with a bulging disc in his back. An update on the scores around baseball in the National League. St. Louis leading Florida in the top of the 8th now, 4-3, and Mark McGwire hit another bomb, didn't he?
Yeah, 500 feet, they said.
Might have been an upper deck shot at Pro Players Stadium if it was. Cubs won today. They beat Montreal, and Pirates leading the Giants.
We'll have all the scores for you soon on the award-winning Delta scoreboard.
Tanaka, formerly with the San Diego Padres.
I was just going to say, every time that McGwire hits one, you can hear the cash register ring someplace. Ka-ching.
I think they're going to have to come up with some creative financing on that deal, you know, in addition to just the general cash outlay and the usual bucks. Figure out a way to make it attractive for him to stay in St. Louis. He's admitted that it's wonderful, the crowd response he's been getting there.
But he's got a little boy out in Southern California, too. That's weighs heavily on him, I'm sure.
Well, here's Maddux. He bats with a 1 out and a runner at second and a 6-2 lead. First pitch swinging. It's one into left center field. They had him played shallow, and over to make the catch, Chris Steins. Looked like they were going to collide out there, he and Nunnally. But Steins stayed with it and made the play.
He tried to throw his fastball past Maddux, and on that particular occasion, he sort of looked like a smokeless tobacco.
Oh,
Greg
brother.
hit the ball very hard.
Boy. 6 runs tonight for Atlanta, the most they have scored since August 4th at Pittsburgh, and the most here at home since July 30th.
Stein's good play really picked Tobacco up there.
You're on a roll, aren't you?
Yeah.
Of sorts. Kenny Lofton takes outside. He is 1 for 2 with a walk and a run scored.
Just can't wait to get home and get my Northwestern pom-poms out so I can root for the against your Sooners tomorrow.
Hey, if I were you, with Missouri coming up, I'd root for Northwestern too. 1-1. Just an early test. That's all it is. Just kind of.
Yeah, God forbid they wait till the kids are back in school to play.
One of those preview things, pigskin preview or kickoff classic. I don't know.
Money's not important to them, either one of them. No.
Oh, got him. Right in the back of the shoulder or right between the shoulder blades. I'm not sure, but Kenny felt that one. He's been spiked already tonight, and now he's had one stuck in his ribs. Jeff Porter not in any hurry for him to get up either.
Boy, there's no way to avoid that. Just above the hip, maybe below the rib cage.
Yeah, it missed the arm. Oh, man. That's in a tender spot. Might have knocked the breath out of him. Let's hope it didn't crack a rib. First and second for Blauser. First time Lofton's been hit by a pitch this year. Blauser, on the other hand, has been hit 15 times. First and second, 2 out. Braves leading 6-2. A strike. Jeff, 2 walks and a base hit tonight. He has scored a run. Breaking ball hammered off the glove of Willie Green. Pokey Reese might still get him, and does. Holy smokes. I don't know if Blauser slowed up thinking it had gotten by Green, but Pokey Reese gunned him out. What a play. Braves get a run. They strand a couple. Watch this play going out. We go to the 7th, 6-2 Atlanta.
All-Star MVP Mike Piazza.
Take you the rest of the way. Here's Skip Carey.
Okay, Joe, thank you. Joe Oliver leads it off, takes a strike on the outside corner. He has lined into a double play, he has singled and scored. 6-2 Atlanta, our score. Oliver steps out of the batter's box for a moment. He is 4 out of 24 in his career against Greg, a home run included. Line fair down the left field line. It's 11 hits off Maddux, a high for the year. Oliver at second with a double. Maddux has gone 12 straight innings without a walk, just 5 walks in his last 98. And only 1 fly ball out tonight. That was the one to end the last inning.
It's been up a little bit more in the strike zone, too.
See if the Braves bullpen begins to stir around. He's thrown a lot of pitches.
I believe it was Mike Cather.
Boone takes a strike on the outside edge, 0-1. Lenny Harris has grabbed a bat and will apparently pinch hit next for Tobacco.
Alan Embry also up with Cather. Base runners have been giving Greg fits all night, but I don't think he's got to worry about Joe Oliver too much.
I think he just rethought the pitch he wanted to throw. That's what Oliver's laughing about. Are you afraid of me? Right on the corner, 0-2. So Tobacco rode through the Braves in good order, getting 2 outs.
Just chewing that up, aren't you?
Spitting it out. The 0-2 just missed the corner, went a little further out. A ball and 2 strikes. 6-2 Atlanta, our score.
That's one of the things that's helped Boone here in the second half. He has not. He's cut down on his strikeouts, not chasing that pitch quite as much. His average up as a result.
Into the dirt. 2 balls, 2 strikes. They want to look at the baseball. They tell me Boone tries to hit or earlier in the year was trying to hit everything out of the ballpark. And that's not his game. Now Felix Rodriguez in the bullpen for Jack McKeon. Got it. He chased a bad ball anyway. Boone is out of there, and that is 9 strikeouts for Maddux, matching his season's high.
Jack McKeon, when he took over, told Brett Boone he wanted him to relax, just go out and have fun, and I think it helped him, and it has resulted in a higher average in the second half. But back to that problem that plagued him in the first half right there.
Lenny Harris is announced as the pinch hitter. He's hitting .244 with 3 homers. And he's a pretty good ball player. He can play first, third, second. He could get by at shortstop and in the outfield. Odd game for Maddux. High pop on the infield. No problem there. Chipper Jones calls for it. 2 out. I say odd game for Maddux. He's equaled his season's high in strikeouts, and he's given up his most hits of the year, 11. Pokey Reese, the batter. Reese 1 for 3. He's driven in a run, scored 1, stolen a base. Barry Larkin in early September undergoes surgery. He's with the club now and available to pinch hit, and will be until he gets to that operation. Pop foul back and out of play.
You know where I saw him taking infield practice tonight? Right field.
Is that right?
He was throwing from right field, Reggie Sanders, and throwing quite well.
That's been a devastating loss for the Reds this year. They've had pitching losses. The Smiley trade, Shurik. Been a lot of upheaval all year long. Uh-oh. Outside, Blauser had broken behind the runner, Oliver, but Greg didn't see him.
And yet Blauser and Joe Oliver both standing on the bag at second as that pitch went across the plate.
The 1-1. On the corner, at the knees, 1-2. He's still rolling right along here.
Yeah, he's still getting the movement on that pitch that's outside. He's still getting it to cut back over the outside corner.
And it is a cool night here, which has helped him, I'm sure. Runner at second, 2 down. That's out of play. Count stays the same. Only Skyline and standing room seats available for tomorrow. The last report we had, singles on sale for Sunday, but thousands of tickets for the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday games with Houston. This is a sellout. Tomorrow is as well. The pitch popped up, foul again. Fan from Greenville, South Carolina came away with that one. Still 1-2.
I don't know how Reese fouled that one off that way. Curveball inside,
Yeah.
and he somehow fouled it off to the right.
Marlins are batting in the 8th, trailing St. Louis 4-3. One and 2 the count. Same way, out of play.
Reese has been a thorn in the neck of Greg Maddux tonight. He's had a tough time with him. Drove him crazy in the first inning.
The 1-2. Close, but no cigar. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Leo thought it was a strike. Watch Perez's glove. No, that one didn't come back. That was a good call.
It was just starting to come back as it hit the glove. Jerry Crawford's a good umpire.
Yes, he is. One of the best in the league.
High popped on the right side. Trouble if it's fair. It drops foul. And Fred McGriff almost ran over the first base umpire, C.B. Buckner, as he chased after that ball. Still 2-2. Denny Nagel, Brett Tomko. Tomorrow it'll be on the Braves radio network and Fox TV, and then we'll be back with you on Sunday at 1:05 when John Smoltz opposes Mike Morgan.
Some evidence of those deep counts. 115 pitches tonight.
Line the other way, but that's going to twist foul. Home run distance, but foul.
Pokey Reese has only hit 2 home runs, but some more evidence, I think, of Maddux maybe losing a little on his fastball. They tried to get this one in on his hands. Not far enough, and he turned on it, and fortunate was Greg Maddux that it was pulled foul.
John Nunnally waits on deck. Into right field. That should be easy. Andrew drifts back, puts it away, and the inning is over. So the leadoff double does no harm. 1 hit. No runs, no errors, 1 left. We go to the bottom half of the 7th inning. He's a hard-throwing young right-hander. He's allowed 1 earned run in his last 3 appearances. Had 5 strikeouts in 5 innings against the Dodgers not too long ago. Was promoted from Indianapolis back in June. And he's ready to go to work. And Bautista will face him. 6-2 Atlanta is our score. The bullpen's still busy for Atlanta. Greg Maddux may have gone as far as he can go. Mike Bilecki is throwing now.
Yeah, it looked like Bobby was just hoping he could get through the inning and then he could turn it over to the bullpen.
Bautista leads it off. Felix Rodriguez out of Monte Cristi in the Dominican Republic. He's 24 years old. Broken bat, grounder to second. That should be easy. Boom to first in plenty of time. The bat wound up at third, 1 away. 1 pitch, 1 out in the bottom of the 7th. Rodriguez started his career as a everyday player, an infielder. He hit .291 his last year at Great Falls with 2 homers, 20 RBIs. Began pitching in '93 on the Dodgers chain. Made it up to the Dodgers in '95. He was signed as a free agent by the Reds last December. Andrew Jones, the batter. He's 1 for 1 with a couple of walks. At the knees, 0-1.
He's got some long, loose arms. When he comes a little 3/4, might be tough to pick up.
Low and away, a ball and a strike. Again, the right-hander cuts it loose. Sidearm this time, but low. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Made 23 appearances for Indianapolis and had a 1.01 ERA. That's pretty salty.
I would say that should get you to the big leagues. 2-1 the count. Look out, inside, almost hit him. 3 balls and a strike.
It's kind of funny how things work. You say he made it to the big leagues with the Dodgers. He pitched against him on August 8th. Struck out 5 in 5 innings and retired 13 of the 14 he faced. That's some payback is what that is.
Pop foul back and out of play.
Coming back to the team that once fed you.
Right you are, Joseph.
Is that a haunting? Is that what you call that, a haunting?
A haunting, yes. I would call it that. 3-2 the count. And it's 9:58 in Atlanta. The pitch. Swung, grounded, foul, past third. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Well, I know Marty Brenneman's mom is looking in tonight down in North Carolina. Your son's a beauty, ma'am. Terrific guy. The pitch. Strike 3 called at the knees. Andrew knew it. He is out of there. Rodriguez. First strikeout. There's Marty, who works with Joe Nuxall. See, Marty puts all those papers up on the wall. Joe and I have all that stuff memorized. We don't need to do that.
You can see the arm angle of this guy, Rodriguez. For right-handers, it's hard to keep that front shoulder in there. And he throws hard, too.
6-foot cockroach waiting for the train. Is that Marty reading that? Here's Fred McGriff, the pitch. It's low, 1 ball, no strikes. Marty's always reading about hair grooming and stuff. Maybe that guy should be. 1-0 the count. 2 out, nobody aboard. Fred has a 2-run homer tonight. 2 balls, no strikes. Look out, 3-0. 6-7-0 for the Braves, 2-11-0 for Cincinnati. To first. Perez has it, takes it himself. Nothing doing in the 7th for Atlanta. We go to the 8th. 6-2 Braves.
The Cubbies beat Montreal today, and Sammy Sosa hit his 28th homer. And they go to the 9th. Cardinals still leading Florida 4-3. Philadelphia leading Los Angeles 3-2 now as they go to the top of the 9th. Kurt Schilling on the mound for the Phillies. Pittsburgh beat San Francisco, final 3-2. Smith and Williams homers there, 5-2 San Diego over New York. Colorado and Houston, the Astros leading there 4-1 now. Galarraga has homered for Colorado in the American League. Baltimore a winner. Toronto shutting out Kansas City as they go to the 8th inning. Detroit likewise shutting out Milwaukee. Texas all over Chicago. 5 in the 2nd, 5 in the 3rd, and they lead 11-2. Rusty Greer's already hit 2 homers. The other games are out on the West Coast, including a game at Anaheim where Brett Saberhagen will pitch for the Red Sox. First time he's towed the rubber in a year and a half.
And towing the rubber here is Mike Cather, who's on to pitch for Atlanta. You'll see his numbers as John Nunnally leads it off. Lost the bat. It's 0-1. There's the bat. And here are the numbers. Hard to figure a 1.77 ERA and an 0-3 record, but that's the way it is. 48,937 paid here tonight. 25th sellout of the year for Atlanta. Maddux, 7 innings, 11 hits, 2 runs, 9 strikeouts. Oh, and 1 the count. Pulled the string on him, had him out in front. 0-2. Nunnally hit 12 home runs in July down in Indianapolis. That's one of the reasons he's here. You see the Atlanta bullpen, right-hander and left-hander. Got him with another change. Nunnally's out of there, and a good start for Cather. 1 away among the dignitaries here tonight. Noted Atlanta cardiologist Charles Whitcliffe rooting for the Braves.
You're talking about Cather's ERA versus his record. One of the reasons is he's been a tough luck loser on a couple of situations where the Braves have made some errors behind him, so no earned runs, and then he picked up a loss in St. Louis with 1 swing of the bat when Delano DeShields hit the home run to win.
Chris Steins takes it inside. 1 ball, no strikes. That was not a fun night.
No.
Steins is 3 out of 3. He's hitting .479, but not anymore. Cather gets the first 2 in a hurry. Here's Eduardo Perez. 6-7-0 for the Braves. 2-11-0 for the Reds. St. Louis just came up with 3, and they're still batting, and they lead Florida 7-3. Wonder if McGuire hit another one.
We will soon find out.
The pitch to Perez. Swung and missed.
Mike doing a good job tonight of keeping the ball down.
Oh, and 1 the count. Little tap. Lauser's got it. You can't have an easier inning than Mike Cather had there. 1-2-3, nothing doing. We move on to the bottom of the 8th with the Braves on top 6-2. Mark McGuire has hit 2 upper deck home runs tonight. Each one a 3-run shot. The first one went 500 feet. We don't know how long the second one was, but if it was up there, it's pretty close. And that's how St. Louis has gotten that lead.
We're going to try to find out how far that one went.
First time anybody's ever done that in that ballpark. Chipper Jones is the batter against Felix Rodriguez. Hot shot past Reese. He got a glove on it, but couldn't slow it down. Base hit. Chipper has his 3rd hit of the day. He's one of the candidates for player of the game tonight. Our director, Lonnie Dale, our producer, Glenn Diamond, will work all that out.
And the boat is heavily weighted toward the truck, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. They run this thing.
Yeah.
We're just little cogs in their wheel, man. Here's Eddie Perez.
Some of us are cogs, some of us are lug nut.
Yeah. You got that right. The pitch. What's that kid Garnett's first? Kevin? Yeah, there's a big story coming across the wire. Rumor that Kevin Garnett has now turned down the UPS contract. Oh. Oh. The 1-0 pitch. Instead, the first runner back. Yeah, another meeting. Swung and foul tipped. Rodriguez got the Braves in order in the 7th. Gave up a base hit here to Chipper to lead off the 8th.
I'll give you a look to see what it's like for Eddie Perez to stand in there with this guy. And this is from kind of like the left-handed batter's box. Think of what it's like for Eddie.
Grounded foul. Sort of our answer to catcher Cam.
Sort of.
Yeah.
So actually, when Mike's out there, we call it Cather Cam.
Oh, we do? Mm-hmm. Well, that's probably a good idea. Ours is the one that doesn't look like it's underwater. 1-2, the count.
There you go. Don and I are working tomorrow, and we won't get a monitor.
No. I'll be watching. I'll let you know. I'll let you know what happens on catcher Cam. 2-2, the count.
I can see how this kid, though, can be mighty effective for an at-bat for one batter or two. Tough situation.
He's built like, and at times sort of throws like the great Cincinnati pitcher way before your time. Ewell Blackwell, you remember that name?
Yeah.
A side-arming right-hander. Little chopper foul past 3rd.
He's hanging in there. He's not bailing out.
Two and two the count. Looking ahead to the 9th. Reggie Sanders, Willie Green, Joe Oliver, Brett Boone, the first 4 scheduled for the Reds, and then the pitcher would hit. Three balls, 2 strikes.
Chip will probably be running, don't you think? Hoping Eddie can put it in play.
Well, we'll soon find out. Great one.
A great lug nut one to you.
He's running. Struck him out. And threw him out. I thought he was safe, but they call him out. No argument. And 2 are gone here in the 8th. Second strikeout for Rodriguez.
Take a look at the play down at second base. Chipper took a look just to see if he was going to put it in play. Oliver's throw was low. Brett Boone dug it out. tagged him on the knee, and it looked like the foot was in there.
Chipper thought so too, but wisely said nothing. McGuire's getting tired. That second home run to the upper deck only went 462 feet.
Popped it up.
Graffinino takes low. He has struck out, driven in a run with a sacrifice fly, and doubled home a run. So he's had a profitable night. Keith Lockhart swinging a bat on deck. I imagine Mark Wohlers will check into this game. That's called a strike. It was a little bit low at the time.
Were you a little surprised that Lockhart was activated? Because I thought he took some batting practice in Houston, and the results weren't all that good. Not that the results had any bearing, on just how he felt.
I asked him in Houston after the last game there how he was doing. He said pretty good.
I saw him in the clubhouse not knowing that they were going to make a move today, and I asked him how he's feeling, and he said better. So I guess it was good enough.
He's swinging okay down there now, but of course nobody's throwing the ball. Tony fouls it away. It's 2-2. Chad Fox is in the bullpen, not Wohlers. It is not a save situation. Braves up by 4. Many of the fans have headed for home here, or for wherever you go on Friday night. Tapper to third. Tough play. Green up. Off balance throw. He got him, and the inning is over. Bang, bang play. 1 hit, no runs, no errors, nobody left. We go to the 9th. 6-2 Braves. Mike Cather is going to stay in there and pitch the 9th inning. And Reggie Sanders will lead it off against him. I sort of like this. If a guy pitches that well in the 8th, why tempt fate?
Right. And had an easy 8th inning.
And there's plenty of troops out there if he runs into trouble. Sanders leads it off. He is 2 out of 3. Well, I wonder who the player of the game is going to be. The tension in the truck, they told me, is overwhelming. The stretch swung and missed, 0-1. But I now find out that's only because Glenn just took off his shoes. Everybody really tensed.
There's probably no one left.
Nobody on, nobody out. Top of the 9th. 6-2 Atlanta. A little bit outside. Evens the count. A ball and a strike.
And that's too bad because parties have been going on all over the place down there. Howard Feinberg down the truck turned 35 yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Lonnie Dale turns 49. I'm sorry, Lonnie, 40-something tomorrow. Happy birthday, guys.
Yes, many happy returns. The 1-1 pitch. Popped into right center field. On the run is Andrew Jones. He's got it. There's the first one in the 9th. 4 in a row set down by Mike Cather. Willie Green, the batter, 1 for 3 on the night. Braves pitchers have struck out 10 tonight. Reds pitchers have struck out 8. Greg Maddux will go to 17-3, barring a last-minute comeback. And the Braves will go to 8-1 on the year against the Reds. A little bit high. 2 balls, no strikes.
Braves doing some serious damage to the Central Division. They'll be 35-15 against the Central.
There's a drive to deep right field. If it's fair, that ball is crushed. It is foul.
That hit the facing of the second of the club level.
That was well stroked, but just a noisy strike. It's 2-1.
Like it went right over the top of the foul pole, too.
Oh, that didn't miss by much, did it? 2 balls and a strike. Curveball inside, 3-1.
D.B. Parika Buckner called that one down the line.
The 3-1 pitch, here it is. Swung and drilled into deep right center. On the run is Lofton. He gets there. 2 out. And Joe Oliver is the last hope for the Reds.
Kid Tomko pitches tomorrow for the Reds, and he has been outstanding. He'll be a tough customer. He's 8-4.
The guy he's pitching against isn't doing too bad either.
No, he's not too shabby.
That'll be on the Fox network and on the Braves big radio network. Oliver taps one foul off his foot down the third baseline. He really needed that at this stage of the game. 0-1 the count. I can't believe that blimp is still up. It just doesn't move. It just sits there. 0-2 the count.
I think it's trying to give us some advance warning of any severe weather that comes in the area.
The remaining fans on their feet here. Outside, a ball and 2 strikes. Game time tomorrow, 1:15. Game time Sunday, 1:10. Our broadcast, 1:05 Sunday. Line foul, pass first. Still 1-2. Dodgers beat the Phillies tonight 5-3. Houston leads the Rockies 7-1, or 3-1 rather, in the 7th. The Marlins are batting in the 9th, down 4 to St. Louis. They've been destroyed tonight by Mark McGwire. The 1-2 pitch. Got him, and the ball game is over. Oliver goes down swinging. And Mike Cather closes the deal. He works 2 perfect innings. And the Braves come away, Joe Simpson, with a 6-2 victory.
And our AutoZone player of the game is Chipper Jones, who came away with 3 hits tonight. 2 of them were right-handed, and they were right-handed hitting doubles. Both peppered pretty well. He also scored a couple of runs, and he stole a base, his 18th of the year. Congratulations to Chipper. The Braves a winner. 6-2 the final. Back to wrap things up at Turner Field right after this.